Okay, so as time progresses, I think a lot about, um, for the last 16 years and my marriage and all that. I think a lot about all the things that I've missed, parts of my life that I've missed because I was, too busy trying to be a husband and a father. Not the best father, not the best husband, but none of that matters anymore. Because, it doesn't exist anymore. All the things I've missed and all the things that I've lost. I didn't realize how much of myself I really lost until there wasn't enough of the relationship left for that to be a part of my life. I mean, she told me she wanted a divorce, told me to leave, like near the beginning of January. But we stopped acting like a couple months ago. Maybe even further back than that. And I started looking at all the things that I lost and all the things that I'd missed. Entire portions of my friends' lives. Entire portions of my life. So, back about 100 pounds ago, I used to skate. And, I wasn't the best skater. I could do a few tricks. For a while, I had a decent ollie. And for you who don't know what an ollie is, where you make the skateboard jump up into the air with your feet. And to be honest, that was the only thing I was halfway decent at. Whatever, I still enjoyed it. I didn't care. I didn't skate to be the best. I skated because I enjoyed it. It was fun. And anyway, I play music, I sing, and a bunch of other things. I'm an artist. So what I lost was my love for the things that I always enjoyed, the things that made me me, that were part of me. And I lost really my identity, because my identity was so tied up in my relationship that I kind of forgot who I was. And of course, I lost my health. Every inch of my body hurts every day, from the top of my head down to the tips of my toes. And I wish that were an exaggeration. However, during all of this, being out of that environment and, spending as much time by myself as I want, as I need, while those pains are still there, the intensity is diminishing. Except for, of course, the pain in my feet, hips, and knees, because when I say I lost my health, I mean I lost my health. And it's not exactly a pretty sight. When she met me, I was young. We were in college. I was 190 pounds. I gained my first 50 pounds the first 2 years we were married. I don't know if I just became complacent or if my body was telling me something that my mind wouldn't accept. I don't know. Nevertheless, a lot of the things that I lost, I can't get back what I missed. Time doesn't work that way. I mean, if time worked that way, I'd go back to when I was a little boy and be the person that that little boy needed so he wouldn't become the person I am now. Yeah, sure, I know things, I understand things that I didn't before, but I did terrible things. Check an earlier video, I can't remember which one it is, but check an earlier video and you get a confession about some of the things I've done. And you watch all my videos and you'll get a picture of all the things that I've done. All of them. I don't try to avoid accountability. Sometimes it's just not in my mind. If somebody brings up something that I've done, then I'm like, oh crap, yeah, you're right. Well, I need to fix it. And that's actually the way it's supposed to be. Now, you can't be expected to remember every bad thing you've done. I mean, especially at my age. I'm not exactly old, but I'm not a kid either. I'm 39 years old. And 39 years is plenty long enough to do a lot of bad stuff, whether you meant to or not. Some of it I meant to and just didn't think about the consequences. Some of it is just things I didn't mean for it to go that way. Some of it I was just being selfish. That's how it goes. Anyway, if I could go back in time, I'd go back to that little boy before he did any of that stupid stuff. And I'd teach him how to be the man he's supposed to be, not the man that other people want him to be. Anyway, I can't go back and get back all the things that I missed. I can, however, get back a lot of what I lost. Maybe not time. Obviously, like I said, time doesn't really work that way. But I could very easily get back health, enjoyment of life. When she met me, I was content. I mean, like, I didn't want a relationship. I was happy being by myself. When I had my friend Randy, he's actually one of my subscribers now. He and my friend Keith have supported me throughout my life, as long as I've known them. I met Randy a little bit before I met my wife. And I can't say we've been inseparable, but we've been very close. His opinion means a great deal to me. So does Keith's. Anyway, oh yeah, I was content being alone. I was content being alone. You know, I had friends, but having a friendship is not the same as having a romantic relationship. And when I got into college, I wanted to find a girlfriend that I could eventually marry. I wanted a wife and children and a home. And somewhere along the way, I woke up with the realization that I was happy where I was. I was actually content with my life. The line that popped in my head when I opened my eyes that morning, it's just like it was in the movies. You open your eyes first thing in the morning with that realization. If they don't want me, it's their loss, not mine. I wish I had kept that mindset. Even during my marriage, you know. I don't want to justify me cheating on my wife. But like with everything has a reason. Even if the reason is stupid. even if the reason is justifiable, but the action is stupid. Everything has a reason. And the truth is, I wanted love and affection. And to me, sex was always the greatest sign of intimate affection, which that was an immature, naive way of looking at things. But that's how I looked at it. And it's still actually really hard not to look at things that way. I just have to make a conscious effort not to live according to that mindset. Anyway, I still needed that love and affection. I felt like I did. And so, at the risk of sounding slanderous, as I've been accused, I wasn't getting it. Or at the very least, I wasn't getting as much as I felt like I needed. And again, being selfish, I didn't want to lose the relationship either. So I thought I could have my cake and eat it too. I don't know if I've got international viewers or not. And for those of you who don't know what it means, is to have your cake and eat it too is basically to have it both ways. You get what you want from here, and you get what you want from there, even though they kind of contradict each other. What I should have done is just leave. I should have held on to that mindset. They don't want me. They're the ones losing, not me. You live and you learn. And just so we're absolutely clear, cheating is never a viable option. Ever. What I did was wrong. And I spent a lot of time paying for it. And I'll probably pay for it the rest of my life. I spent a lot of time paying for it. I spent a lot of time and effort fixing myself so I won't do it again. Cheating is never an option. If you get to the point where you feel like you need to look outside of your relationship in order to get the love and affection you feel like you need, you're better off leaving for your sake and hers, or if you're the woman, for your sake and his. Because cheating is damaging to your relationship, to the person you're cheating on. It's also unfair to the person you're cheating with. But it's deceptive. Because you believe that you're getting that love and affection. But any person who is willing to go that far with you, they're not there for love and affection. They're not there because they care about you. They're there for one of a few things. One, like yourself, they're not getting the love and affection they need, or they don't feel like it, so they're reaching out. So you don't mean any more to them than they do to you. They're just a side piece. Or you're just a fling, and they don't mean anything, and you don't mean anything to them at all. So there's actually no love and affection there, no actual connection. It's just a thing you're doing. Because they got a hole they got to fill. And it's not a love and affection that they're looking for. It's pleasure. Because they think that's what's going to fill that hole. And the alternative is, and this is the worst one, and I've actually experienced number 1 and number 3. This next one being number 3. That person you're cheating with is trying to cause you harm in your relationship. They see your weakened state. They take advantage of it. Now, I can't say that I don't entirely deserve that happening to me, because there was a reason that person wanted to do that to me. But this is one of those instances of the punishment doesn't fit the crime. Anyway, this is another one of those just be better moments. If you don't feel loved, go where you feel loved. But don't drag somebody along with you. If you are in a relationship and you have to reach outside of that relationship to get the love and affection that you believe you need, do one of two things. Either deal with not getting that affection, or, at least trying to get that affection from the person you're with, whether it succeeds or fails, or leave the relationship and then go seek your love and affection. So, it's not pleasant, but it's the truth. A truth I learned way, way too late. More than a decade too late. So back to the things that are lost. I never really loved myself. And I don't really think loving yourself is the answer, like so many say. It's because, to some degree, you should love yourself. You should not love yourself more than you love other people. Now, this goes back to biblical scripture. And yes, I know I've committed heinous sins. That doesn't mean that I don't love God. That just means that I did stupid things. Everybody has to come back to God at some point in time, or at least everybody who believes in God has to come back to God at some point in time and say, I messed up, please forgive me, and please help me. And God will say, okay, well, let's do this again. But anyway, you're supposed to, it says love your neighbor as yourself. Well, that's a bad idea, because I don't love myself. I hate myself. I really do. There are reasons for it. And I'm trying to get past all of that. But something else the Bible also says is that you should give other people higher esteem than you do yourself. Okay, and basically what that means for people who want elaboration or just don't understand. I don't know. Some people don't have that life experience to understand it. I don't know. I might sound insulting from time to time. That's part of my social awkwardness. Just forgive that if you can. Anyway, it's looking at another person as being more important than you. If you can look at another person and say that that person is more important to you than you, then you're doing it right. At the same time, we have to be careful doing that sort of thing, because if we don't give ourselves any regard at all, we give people an open invitation to treat us poorly. I believe that the thing that we need to feel toward ourselves, more even than love, is respect. Sure, even if you can't love yourself, which again, that goes into a lot of stuff. Even if you can't love yourself, you need to find a way to respect yourself. Even if you've done horrible, heinous things, your sins should not define who you are, but your ability to recover from those sins. And I don't mean in a physical sense. I mean spiritually, psychologically, and emotionally. Because one thing I've learned through all of my sinning is that the sin is often traumatizing for the sinner as well. Maybe not for those against whom they sinned, maybe not as much as that, but still traumatizing nonetheless. It's the guilt, which, you know, people you've wronged, they'll probably be happy with that, and let them be. I mean, the Bible also says not to celebrate whenever your enemy falls. So, people who do that sort of thing, they'll answer for it. Just let them be happy that you're falling. They'll pay for it one way or another. What you need to do is focusing on doing right. Focus on doing right. Yeah. Anyway. Oops, I lost my balance. So, I lost not my love for myself, I lost my self-respect. My ability to look at myself and say, I deserve the things that I worked for, and I deserve, at the very least, basic human decency. That is basically, that's, in a nutshell, self-respect. Saying that I deserve, at least, the bare minimum of what humans deserve. Which includes, of course, receiving the things you've worked for. And I know relationships aren't supposed to be transactional. Unfortunately, oftentimes they are. But if you're putting in a bunch of effort, and that person is not matching that effort, not even trying to match that effort, then you need to back away. That person doesn't respect you. That person doesn't even love you. If somebody who loves you is going to try their very best to show you the respect that they want to be shown. You know, recording all these videos, I know these leaves are really, really loud, but I'm still trying to work on stuff so I can cut out any, background noises that don't need to be there. I've got microphones that I can use. They're not mine, but I'm allowed to use them. But it's really hard to control the volume on them, and they pick up my clothing when it moves. So for now, I'm trying to minimize their use. Oh, this is a familiar place. That's another story. Anyway, so that's something else I lost. Self-respect. And I really do think I lost my ambition. The drive to see things done. I don't know how to feel about that one. Because I always had hopes and dreams and ambitions, and they just kind of waned over the years. And I can't really place my finger on why. It's just, the best I can come up with is I lost so much of myself in the relationship without even knowing it, that I abandoned those things that were part of me so I could feel safe. Now, before anybody gets this idea that I'm blaming all my problems on somebody else and taking no accountability, first of all, watch the rest of my videos. Which, by the way, for anybody who does finally watch this and decides they want to say something, if you won't watch the videos, but you're going to comment on them, you're better off just saying nothing. If you want to say something about the videos, watch the videos. If you're not going to watch the videos, just keep your mouth shut. Anyway, I've taken accountability for the things that I've done wrong, and I've done so publicly, which isn't even necessary. I did it. Well, honestly, I did it so it could never be held over my head again. Yeah, sure, there'll be those people like, oh, hey, I have proof that you did this, and because you did this, you're a horrible person. Well, that might just be true. And if that's the case, you don't deserve the healed version of me. And if it really comes down to it, if that's something that's unacceptable to you, then I don't deserve your presence. So be it. I'm not going to force you to want something you can't accept. And I'm not going to lower my standards or my boundaries to be accepted by somebody who doesn't want me. I just about made that mistake again. I'll never do it again. Ooh. I'm running into stuff. I like walking in the woods. It is hard to do this and walk in the woods at the same time because this is East Texas. It's not like the forests of Canada or Northern California. We have more thorn vines and briars than we have trees. We have enough trees to probably build houses for every single American that has ever existed. Anyway, I'm finding it very difficult to regain those ambitions, the love of the things that I once loved. I feel like that part of me was outright removed, not just silenced. That's not something I think I can bear. I don't want to lose myself to such a degree that I can no longer find myself. To the point where I won't know who I am. I have to create a new person just to live. I don't want that. I don't think I can handle that. I mean, I did that just to survive in my marriage. And not only did my marriage mess me up royally, but it created some things in me that I still haven't come to terms with. Hallucinations. I've had hallucinations. That had never happened before. You know, when I was younger, and I mean younger as an adult, I didn't cry at movies. I didn't cry at movies. When bad things happened to me, I didn't cry. You know, people expressing emotions, didn't cry. That's actually one of the symptoms of ADHD, by the way. Difficulty expressing emotion, not because we're scared to, but because the appropriate expression isn't actually there. And it's not that we don't care. It's not that what's happening doesn't mean anything to us. It's just that we see the situation and we don't understand why people are crying. Our first thought is, okay, well, this is the truth of the matter. Let's look at it. And I found the hard way that doesn't always go over well with people. Some people can't look at the truth of the matter because it hurts them. And that makes sense. Now. Makes sense now. 10 years ago, it didn't. Like crying at funerals. But I understand missing people. I do. I understand the flood of emotions that come with knowing that that person's not there anymore. But I never cried at a funeral. Never could understand why you would mourn somebody who doesn't feel things one way or the other at this point. And that's an oversimplification. It's extremely nuanced and at this point largely irrelevant. But now, get to the point. If I see or hear anything that resembles heightened emotion, any intensity emotionally, I lose it. I can't stop myself from crying. And it's honestly kind of scary because that's not normal for me. I don't understand what's going on. And the only thing I can think of, I gotta tie my boot. The only thing I can think of is that I'm so emotionally overwhelmed from the things that I've dealt with, the things that I'm dealing with, that it's like a cup. When it's already full, if you put anything else in, it's going to overflow. The only time it doesn't overflow is whenever it's either empty or not full yet. So long as what you're putting in isn't more than it can take. That's the only thing I can think of. So I'm supposed to have another therapy session today. I'm kind of doing it backwards, but it's kind of my fault. So this will be my third session. I think second or third. But we're doing intake today. I'm hoping I can get some sort of diagnosis. And I'll tell you why. I know I'm ADHD. I need to go to the Andrews Center in the next big town, get my paperwork. But I know I'm ADHD. I was diagnosed in, I think, 93, 94, something like that. But I suspect I'm also autistic. And there are a whole lot of reasons why. None of them are relevant enough for me to throw out to the internet right now. Borderline, possibly. For those of you who don't know what borderline personality disorder is, borderline personality disorder is basically a condition where, as a defense mechanism, due to trauma, you exhibit very, honestly, narcissistic, but hostile, toxic behaviors. But those behaviors are usually triggered by something. So yeah. Then CPTSD is continuous post-traumatic stress syndrome. That goes into a whole lifetime of stuff. For people who don't know what that is, it is basically PTSD, but not from a singular or collection of incredibly desperate situations, but the result of long-term continuous exposure to trauma. And the one that I'm most concerned about, the one that worries me the most, narcissism. I know they say that if you think you could be a narcissist, you probably aren't. But if that's the case, then how do all these narcissists that get diagnosed? They have to come to a point in their life where they see how damaging their toxic behavior is, and so they go seek out answers. They may not be super introspective, but narcissists aren't usually stupid. They're just blind most of the time. And I believe that's what I've been, blind. So that one's the one I'm most concerned with. Right behind that is autism. Because that would explain so much of my life. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, you know, you shouldn't have to label yourself, blah, blah, blah. But here's the deal, okay? If you have a Nissan Skyline rally car, then you have a Bugatti Veyron, high performance road car, okay? And then you have a Jeep Wrangler. Okay, well, if you're not into labels, you might drive that Bugatti or that Bugatti like a Jeep, and you might drive that Skyline rally car like a Bugatti. You might drive that Jeep like a rally car. And if you do it right, it might actually work out, but not near as well as if you treated each car the way they were designed. That's why I think that, to some degree, labels are important. You have to know what you're dealing with so you can do it right. Because if you never learn what you're dealing with, then you never get to treat it the way it needs to be treated. You cannot treat somebody with autism like they're a narcissist. So, with autism and with ADHD, there are symptoms, there are behaviors that actually overlap with narcissism. Same thing with CPTSD and borderline personality disorder. If you put all four of those together, that person really looks like a narcissist. The difference ends up being the drivers, the reasons they do things. So yeah, reasons do matter. For those of you who say, well, reasons don't actually matter. They do. Reasons matter. Okay? If you treat any one of those like they're a narcissist, you will mess their heads smooth up. You will damage them. Possibly permanently. Especially if they're autistic or ADHD. If you treat them like they're a narcissist, behave with them like they're a narcissist, you will inflict so much trauma on that person that they may become non-functioning. However, if you treat somebody with narcissistic personality disorder like they're just autistic, you will be enabling them. You will actually make them more powerful. And that's not so much damaging to them as it is to all the people around them. So then you end up traumatizing people you've never even met. So it is important to know what the labels are. And here's another thing. I lost my drive to know more things. I have always loved learning new things. I mean, it's like, I like doing that more than I do playing music and singing. And I love them. I love learning new things. Love it. At least I did. Now I find it hard to enjoy it. I'll start learning something new and I'll get to the point where I'm just like, why am I doing this again? It deeply, deeply disturbs me that I've gotten to this point. So, that's not everything I lost. But those are some really important things. I need to find some way to get them back. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm just blaming everything on my relationship with my soon-to-be ex-wife. And I guess to a degree that's true. But in truth, I'm really blaming myself. Because when it got to the point where I felt like I needed to find my love and affection elsewhere, I stayed. I tried to do both. I tried to get my love that I thought I needed and stay with the person that I married. And something else I regret in my relationship, and this is for those of you who might be going through something similar to what I went through before she told me she wanted a divorce. Don't try and make somebody perceive things the way that you do. She was doing things that hurt me. She was. But instead of making a decision that took me away from what was hurting me, I tried to, again, have my cake and eat it too. And I tried to stay in the pain and tried to make her change her behavior. Now, before anybody's like, oh, there's slander, you're talking bad about her. That's not how this works. If I am silenced, that is abuse. If you tell me I cannot talk about the things that I'm dealing with, the things that cause me pain, that is abuse. Okay? But I did bad things, even up to that last moment where she said, I want a divorce, please leave. Because I did a lot of screaming and yelling too. I did a lot of cussing too. Something else that I deeply regret. I can't believe I let myself get to that point. You know, I actually have a problem with cussing. The sound of the words grates on my ears. It feels wrong. And I did it. I don't know. Maybe I missed an opportunity. But she's not the only one that did wrong. I did wrong too. Unfortunately, I did do a lot of the same things. I think the big difference is that she didn't feel like... I'm not going to speak for her. I was trying to change. I was trying to do better. Unfortunately, I was changing only some of the things that were wrong. Because, like as happens most times, you don't really realize, or you don't believe some of the things you're doing are wrong until it's in the past and you're not in that anymore. Honestly, I'm starting to wonder if I had gone on a vacation instead of arguing. I know that sounds pretty wrong, but if I had gone on a vacation, even if it was just a week or two, instead of arguing, I might have actually come back to peace. Or I might have come back to an empty home. I don't know. At this point, I have no clue. So, even if your relationship is absolutely perfect in your eyes, look at the things you might be doing wrong. Even if you're like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, say this to yourself. I might be doing something wrong. I need to look at it. Don't assume you're doing nothing wrong. That was one of my mistakes. You're human. You're not perfect. And look at who you are and try and determine how much of yourself you might have lost trying to be what that other person needed. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm doing the whole 10 days of things that I wish I had done with or for my wife, which I'm on day number 6 now. You can go back on a previous video and look at that. Because that's my opportunity to look at the things that I did wrong that didn't even seem wrong, that would have made her happy. Because just because it's not morally wrong, and this is something that really hard to understand until you've looked at it deeply, but just because what you're doing isn't morally wrong doesn't mean that it's not wrong in the relationship. Because it can be morally right and still be wrong. There are micro injuries, micro infractions, however you want to look at it. Little bitty tiny, perceivably insignificant things that you're doing that hurt the person you're with. And to you, you don't understand why it hurts them because it's so insignificant and in reality, not that big a deal. But for that person, it might be everything. And there were a lot of times that I mentally glossed over things that she said because I compared it to the grand scheme of things and decided that it didn't take precedence over the thing that was going on right then. So even if she is controlling, even if she is abusive, even if she is all those things that I had said in earlier posts, and you have to go way down for those. Well, looking at those things, I have to ask the question, how much of that behavior was caused by her possible personality dysfunction, and how much of it was a result of me doing things that are not necessarily morally wrong, but wrong for my relationship. Just remember this. Morality is the determining factor of right and wrong. However, it is possible for something to be morally right and still be wrong. Because part of morality or moral function is to not hurt somebody else. So even if it's morally right, if you're hurting somebody else, it then becomes morally wrong. So just think about these things whenever you're interacting with the person you love, because you might be hurting them, injuring them, possibly permanently, without even knowing it. So don't do all the things that I did wrong. Just be better.